Welcome in, everybody, to Catfish on Ice. It is Chad Minton with Max Greenberg, episode 244, live stream on our YouTube channel and also on our Facebook. We've got some loyal listeners and followers who are waiting for us to start, so we decided to start 30 minutes early.
Yep.
This is the life of being a podcaster and also having a full-time job that has nothing to do with hockey. Exactly. And so I wasn't sure when to start the podcast tonight. We don't always record on Sundays, but this Preds offseason has kind of made you just have to be ready to go when things happen.
Got to be on your feet, be on your toes, think that way. Anything can come out of the blue.
This offseason has been so hectic, and not in a bad way, but so hectic that you just have to be ready. And it's the Barry Trotz effect. I mean, let's just call it what it is. It is the Barry Trotz effect. This dude, I feel like he doesn't have much of a home life. This guy just is playing he has a home life, but you know what I mean? Like, this guy is just constantly thinking about the next move, 5 steps ahead of everybody, 10 steps ahead of everybody. We're going to break down the Yaroslav Askarov trade return. Before we really break into the conversation about it, though, Max, also, we're presented by BetterHelp and also DraftKings. We will tell you about our sponsors and our promo codes and offers we have with those two amazing sponsors later. If you're watching the YouTube video right now, please hit subscribe below. Hit us up in the live stream in the comment section, or if you missed the live stream, you can comment later as well, and we'll hit you up. So we got Predemption in here. Johnny, he says evening all. We got our buddy Alex. Alex was interacting with us on X. Happy to see you. Alex said that he's got to get up 4 o'clock in the morning for work.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I don't have to get up that early, so I'm okay with a lot of most people, but
you know what?
Medication.
When Alex told me that, I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. I can throw things together. I can get the mic plugged in. Let's make this happen. I am sympathetic to having to get up early. And so we're happy to have you, Alex. Thank you for hanging around for us. And so we'll see who else jumps in live. But yeah, so let's just really start it off here. Before we get into the main part of the episode, we'll break down the trade return, what Barry Trotz got in return. Did he act too swiftly? Should he have held out a little bit longer? Also, we're going to preview to continue our season preview series. We previewed the defense in episode 243 of Catfish and Ice. So go listen to that podcast when you get a chance, or you can watch it on YouTube as well. It's up on the YouTube channel. And tonight we're going to preview the bottom 6 of the lineup of the Fords. Next episode, we'll preview the top 6, and we'll eventually preview the goalie room. So yeah, we still got some previews to do for the season previews. And also we're going to look at a little bit at training camp, 5 players that we think have the most to gain in training camp. And it could be for many different reasons. Whether you're a young prospect and you're trying to earn a starting job, that's what most people think. But I don't just think about it that way. I think also like a new player who's learning a new system might have something to gain. Wink, wink. Maybe a little bit of suspense there. But but Max, let's just break the ice with this one. Did you really ever expect it to happen that quick? Did you think when we were talking in episode 243, and it got a little, I don't want to say heated, but me and you had a little bit of a disagreement on the whole, how it's all unfolding. But did you see it happening that fast? Like, I thought it was going to happen.
I didn't think it'd be that quick.
I thought it was going to happen definitely before the regular season started, but I didn't think it was going to happen within the next week. That was crazy.
No, not even within the current work week, it happened that quickly. And for that, I figured if it was going to be that quick, it would have been for chump change. But no, Barry Trotz actually got stuff in return, and he got it done that quickly. I mean, that was pretty crazy that he was able to do it like that.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming at all that it would happen that fast. But again, we're going to get into it. It's going to be our opening face-off tonight. It's going to be really, we're going to break down, did Barry Trotz, should he have held out a little bit longer? Should he have maybe waited? We're going to share a really good story from the Tennessean, Alex Doherty, the beat writer for the Tennessean, who's covered the team for a long time. He knows his stuff. He knows everything about the team. I mean, he puts out the best stuff. And Max, I'm going to let you really break down what Alex's story really revealed. But before we do that, let me just let's just break down the trade straight up. So here's the most complicated thing about this trade. So the Preds trade Yaroslav Askarov to the San Jose Sharks. First of all, let's talk about the team. Are we okay with him going to a Western Conference team, a team that is so deep into a rebuild? You can't get any deeper. This team had 47 points last year.
Yes, that's right, I think.
Only 19 wins. I mean, historically bad, but their prospect pool is looking legit. And they throw Yaroslav Askarov. And I'm not saying I'm the only one that was saying that San Jose was a great trade partner, but I will say that they were one of my 3 teams that I had picked among many teams that you could throw out there. The only other team that I was more bullish on as far as let's get him there was Columbus. And Columbus was probably interested, but I'm totally okay with Askarov going to San Jose. It could end up working out really great for him. I think it's a great landing spot for Askarov from his perspective because there's no pressure, zero pressure. At least on the onset, there's no pressure.
Right. He's
going to face pressure down the road. But first of all, it's very interesting, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Max. He's already got a 2-year extension for
That's what I was about to say from the onset.
Get into that, Max. He's making more than Scott Wedgwood is.
Yeah.
After, let's say, to be more technical, he got extended. So he's still got 1 more year of ELC. And then the following year, he'll get that $2 million. But he's going to make more than what's after this current season when his NHL's first NHL standard contract kicks in from San Jose. He's going to be making $500K more than what Scott Wedgwood's making right now. And there was this big story, which I don't think it was much of a story, that they were going to battle for backup of UC Saros in training camp. Talk about irony there.
Yeah, I honestly was, not totally surprised, but like the fact that, again, like I was one of the guys saying that I know his talent, I know his draft pedigree, but he's done as little as he's done in the NHL, and he gets that contract again. That's like you just said, Chad. For me, that's not even the most shocking part. The fact that he has 1 more year in his contract. He's an RFA next year. San Jose did not need to do this early, yet they did it. That's one of those things where if you're Askarov, you're like, okay, we got to back this up. Now he's got his money, but you gotta go out there. The pressure kind of is on you now that you signed that contract. You got to show that you're worth it.
For sure. Alex on YouTube jumps in and says, I think the trade request forced Trotz's hand. When the request went public, he had to make a move quickly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Alex Daugherty's report for the Tennessean reveals is they never really – thank you for the comment on YouTube, Alex. They never really planned on Askarov making this so public. And you know what? It's kind of crazy because maybe not to this same dramatic effect, but this is the second time this year that the Predators have had to deal with this. Tyson Barrie went public and wanted a trade as well. So this is the second time in a calendar year, 2 completely different players. You're talking about a seasoned veteran who plays a completely different position, and Tyson Barrie who wanted a trade. Also because he was not happy with his own playing time. And now you're talking about a completely unproven NHL prospect and a goalie, no less, who was not happy about their role in Nashville. You can kind of look at it glass half full as a Predators fan. This is a kind of a good problem to have. You have healthy competition within the organization. Now, do you and I've thought about this, and I can give you my thoughts again when we did it in the heat of the moment in episode 243. I was definitely backing Askarov as far as wanting the trade, and I still think he had every right to do so. But he definitely abandoned the whole team first. I'm going to be a class act. No. But you know what? We should have kind of seen this coming in a sense. The guy is larger than life. He's got an ego. And I'm not saying ego is necessarily a bad thing. Ego can be bad or good. It depends on how they use it. So let me just preface by saying that. But the dude is oozing with confidence. We'll see if it works out for him. But yeah, he wasn't interested in going back to the Milwaukee Admirals. That's a fact now. And so we can argue all day long, and we're going to do it here as this episode rolls along on whether Trotz had another option that he could have gone with in hindsight. That maybe this situation, because I've gotten a little bit of pushback on that, Max, from just some people that said, well, Trotz, he's kind of not innocent in all of this. Like he asset mismanagement is what I got from a couple of prominent Preds accounts who I respect on X, who they said Trotz it was asset mismanagement. What do you think about that, Max?
I mean, given the situation, and I can talk more about the report from Alex Daugherty, and
get into that as well.
Yeah, first of all, how do I want to say all of this? There's a lot to say here.
Oh
but,
my God, where do you start?
Right. As far as I'm going to start with as far as the trade return, because I think that's kind of what a lot of people are focusing on here. The return is not it's certainly not glamorous. It's not what ideally people wanted. The way I kind of look at it is the return. So the trade was obviously Yaroslav Askarov to San Jose, along with a third-round pick that was Colorado's that we acquired in the Yakov Trenin trade, and Nolan Burke, who's like an ECHLer. The guy was never really a serious NHL guy, and he was untrapped. I don't think the Preds really lost there. And then in return, they got Magnus Corona, who's a goaltender, not of the pedigree of Askarov, but going to be an AHL goaltender, pretty good guy to have. Again, albeit a significant downgrade.
And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into him because I want to talk more about him. But just we'll save that for a little later in this episode.
And then the Preds also, they get
David Edstrom.
David Edstrom, prospect forward David Edstrom, the 32nd, I believe, overall pick from Vegas last year. From what I've seen, I also read your article on Pred Lions, Chad. Basically, a guy who's going to should be like a strong two-way player, probably a middle to bottom six guy eventually, but is still a first-round pick, so that's important too. But what's the most important part of the trade to me, and the part where I'm just like, okay, I'm actually pretty pleased with this, and I'm actually giving Trotz it's actually impacting the grade I'm giving Trotz here, is he got a first-round pick in the trade. Now, it is top 10 protected, but here's the condition I was confused. I saw, Chad, you were confused on it too. Here's what it is.
I was getting a migraine headache trying to because there was just I think what really made it so confusing for me, Max, was the whole originally acquired by Sharks, but it's Vegas.
Right.
What if this happens? Yeah. So admittedly, I was very confused at the
I didn't know either.
I was when I saw top 10 protected, I assumed it meant if the Sharks pick top 10.
That's what I thought too. And I thought, we're screwed.
Yeah, exactly. Me as well. But as time went on and the smarter people in the room kind of cleared it up for me. And so the way I understand it, because I'm sure it's confusing for a lot of people, the way I understand it is the best case scenario for the Preds is if Vegas and the Sharks both end up with a top 10 pick. That's just glorious then. Yes. But if somehow the most likely scenario is we end up with Vegas's first round pick. Yes. Is that where I'm at here?
So essentially what's going on here is, so the Sharks, before this trade, they had 2 first-round picks for next year. One of them was, of course, their own, and the other was the Vegas pick they acquired in the Tomas Hertl trade. And how it's going to work for us is, say that Vegas and San Jose both finish in the top 10. Vegas, I'm sure they won't. San Jose, I fully expect to. Either way, what's going to happen here is in the event that they both finish in the top 10, San Jose gets the option to choose which pick they want, whichever pick they want they keep, and the other they send to us. So we still get a first-round pick out of this no matter what. And that's the part where I'm like, okay, this is good on Trotz's part they did this, because now the Preds, they went in this offseason trying to be contender now and all this stuff. But we have 3 first-round picks for next year. That's huge. Now here's the thing that's important too. And one thing I always stress when talking about draft capital is we're not, because of course these are not going to be high picks, but look, the Preds next, especially at the trade deadline next year, are going to have ammo to make moves. So we got 3 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, and a third-round pick for ourselves. I mean, that is ammunition to make a move to get a big piece at the deadline or maybe next offseason. You can do so much with that.
For sure. So I'm gonna share the details of the draft picks from Puckpedia real quick on the screen for our YouTube viewers and our Facebook viewers. Again, if you download our podcast, we love you so much. Thank you. We have I know they're out there. I look at the analytics. There's so many people out there who I can't think enough who download our podcast every time we put an episode out, who listen to our podcast. We don't get to interact with them on these live streams, but guess what? We still love you just as much. But if you want to get on YouTube, if you want to watch the live stream, if you can ever do that, we have a little bit more fun. It's a little bit more interactive. But either way, we love you. I'm forever grateful for you. But yeah, so from Puckpedia, let's put it up here. So there you have it.
Yep.
3 first-round picks in round 1 now. 2 second-round picks. I mean, you got 5 picks in the first 2 rounds. I mean,
6 in the top 100. I mean, you go by top 100 picks. You got 6 picks.
I mean, look, Johnny can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I can imagine the Preds have never had 5 picks in the first 2 rounds. I could be wrong.
Not that I remember.
So I want to see the draft pick details on that. So you've already got that one pick from Vegas, the one that just happened. I'm scrolling on the screen here. God, you got all these ads. They're so annoying. But anyway, so August 23rd, 2024. Let me zoom back a little bit. There you go. So the way the Preds got the other first round pick is the Tampa Bay Lightning acquired Tanner Jeannot.
Yeah.
So I was trying to rehash my memory on how the Preds got the other additional first-round pick, and it was the Tanner Jeannot trade to the Lightning, which, hey, I'm down here in the Tampa area. I can promise you that Lightning fans, they're really, they wish they could jump back into the Back to the Future time machine and change that trade.
Tanner Jeannot's not even a member of the Lightning anymore.
No, that didn't work out for them very well, sending all those draft picks. But anyway, so that's how they got the other draft pick, which worked out great. And then they got their own draft pick. And there you go. And so 3 first-round picks. The second-round pick also was acquired in another trade with the Lightning, in the Ryan McDonagh trade that happened on May 21st.
Yep.
So there you have it. Another Barry Trotz draft capital trade, which that one hurt me. And Max remembers this. I didn't want to lose Ryan McDonagh.
No, and you weren't the only one. A lot of people didn't. A lot of people didn't want to believe it was possible. But we have receipts. I was on the podcast here saying, don't rule out a Ryan McDonagh trade. I thought it could happen. And
I'll give you credit for that.
Not for the reason I thought it would happen, but it did.
I'll give you credit for that. Totally. You deserve credit for that. But yeah, so there you have it. So Barry Trotz, let's get into it now. You've maybe already kind of answered it, but I guess I can try to answer it as well. Did he act a little too swiftly? Could he have, been a little bit more stubborn? Could he have maybe held out a little bit longer? And I think most of us are in agreement here that you don't want that distraction. You don't want that. You don't want that dark cloud. You don't want that toxicity. And I am in no way saying that Yaroslav Askarov is a toxicity. I'm calling the situation a toxicity, which Askarov brought on. So I'm not calling Askarov a toxic player necessarily, but he did bring the situation on to he did force Trotz's hand from everything we're understanding here, according to Alex Daugherty and his report. And I mean, the writing's on the wall. I mean, everything that's out there suggests that Trotz was looking to trade Askarov as far back as the 2023 draft.
Yeah. Yeah. Overall, I mean, I wouldn't say like I'm over the moon with how it was handled, but I'm okay with it. And I'm going to start, my rationale for it by talking more in depth about Alex Daugherty's report. So anyway, I'll say, exactly what it was here, everything I took from it. So essentially, and I'm going to talk more of a Cliff Notes version, but anyway, so essentially what we know to have happened was Trotz had an interview with the Tennessean for whom Alex Daugherty works. So it was, I'm sure, directly with him. And anyway, what was said was apparent. So, well, not apparently. We know that Trotz and Askarov had, Askarov had not. He wanted out before the request was made public. We know that. So, but apparently, what sounds like had happened was Barry Trotz and Askarov agreed that the trade request would be kept quiet, and Barry Trotz to try and get the work done, and that and then once that happened, but then Askarov goes and makes the trade rumors public. And, as far as it on being Barry Trotz's part, I still wish, I mean, again, we don't know totally what happened. I'm sure he wanted to get, as much leverage as possible. I personally wish he maybe would have acted a little sooner, try to get it done. I think that would have, made this go quicker, especially when he knew that Askarov was going to want out. And I'm sure Barry Trotz, he probably could have known that this was a possibility that Askarov would do this. But on the flip side of that, and this is what I'm going to say here is probably going to ruffle some feathers, but on Askarov's part, agreeing to, say you're going to be quiet and then going back on your word, I'm not a fan of that. I don't.
That's something I didn't necessarily know in the last episode. Like that, that's a new kind of thing that I've learned.
And then once that happens, Barry Trotz is like, well, crap, I got to do something really quick now. Otherwise it's going to fester. And basically, and I want to go back because you mentioned the Tyson Barrie situation, which I also remember vividly, but I'll also talk about some similarities and differences. When the whole Tyson Barrie thing happened, Barry Trotz did not, keep things to himself about how he felt. He mentioned, I'm disappointed in Barrie. I'm disappointed in his agent for the way they handle this. They didn't want it being public. But kind of a difference is, and maybe I'm being harsh, maybe I'm not, but Tyson Barrie seemed to really have some healthy remorse over that, basically saying, like, I'm sorry, I don't want to be a distraction here. I hate how it's gone this way. Then he went back and played. And of course, they didn't make up as far as, him re-signing with the team, but they seemed to finish out the year with no real problems. And at the trade deadline of the last year, Barry Trotz talked about Tyson Barrie, and he's like, I'm really happy with the way he and his agent tried to work this out. They were on the phone constantly trying to make a deal happen. It didn't, but we tried. Everyone did their part. We're okay. That didn't seem to happen with Askarov at all. And, when Barry Trotz also talked right after the trade, he said a few things that indicated that he was not thrilled with how it went down. He said, number one, he said he wished it had been more quiet. Obviously, he says that. But also, another thing he said that really caught my eye was he said that he told Askarov, we're glad you're confident in yourself, but your play will go out and prove if you're good enough or not. Which to me, that's the nice way of saying, prove us wrong, buddy, because we don't.
Well, listen. We're starting to really see the kind of general manager that Barry Trotz is.
Yeah.
And every general manager is different, Let me just so I got it on the screen right here for our YouTube viewers and Facebook viewers, the social media post from Milwaukee Admirals. And let's just call it like it is. Yaroslav Askarov, in a very short amount of time, we're talking 2 seasons, put a very big positive stamp on that organization. Now, did he have some missteps in the Calder Cup playoffs? Yes, he did. But all goalies are streaky. All goalies have their missteps. This guy is still clearly regarded as one of the top goalie prospects in the world. All you have to do is read the latest 32 thoughts from Elliot Friedman and see how many teams were interested in acquiring Askarov, including the Colorado Avalanche, which is a team I could not. And there were many more that Friedman brought up that weren't even named. So it's overwhelmingly speaking that there are scouts out there way smarter than me and you, Max, who think that this guy is going to be a serious guy, but a serious goalie in this league. And it's very much a rumor, so I don't want to call this fact, but I also, because it kind of comes from one of those clickbait X pages. It does have like over 20,000 followers, but I always get really cautious about sharing stuff from those types of sites. But so I will preface it as being a rumor or speculative, but there was I came across a speculative piece saying that Trotz refused to do any business to trade Askarov to the Blackhawks, even though the Blackhawks offered a substantially higher trade return. Hypothetically speaking, Max, if the trade was so much better than what they got out of the Sharks, would you throw all that division rival stuff to the side and be willing to roll the dice that he haunts you for a decade plus and send him to the Blackhawks? Because I wouldn't. I
wouldn't either. Not only because they're rivals, but the fact that they also have Connor Bedard. They also had the second pick this year. If you're going to set up your division rival to dominate,
don't do that
out there. If it's going to be like, I'm not even talking the trade return has to be like hugely bigger. It's got to be like out of this world level like craziness. No,
I don't know. I don't know if that was true or not. I wouldn't be shocked if it was, but there were a lot of teams interested. That's kind of the point I'm trying to get at. And that's kind of what I was saying in episode 243 is, everyone, again, no offense to anybody, including yourself, Max, who was kind of like calling out his Calder Cup playoffs performance, which is very fair to bring it up. He was pulled, twice, and that's like when it's go time. Like you got to show up. I get it. But that doesn't take away the fact that his first 2 years in North American professional hockey, he put up back-to-back .91 save percentages in the regular season, was just a highlight reel goalie for that organization in Milwaukee. And the Predators kind of put themselves in a situation, again, a good problem to have. It's not the end of the world for Predators fans who are kind of like freaking out right now. It's not the end of the world. I mean, and first of all, Barry Trotz is going to make some mistakes. It's going to happen. Yeah. But I also came across this. I found this really interesting. So the GM for the Sharks, who is building himself a stable of prospects. I mean, you can call the Sharks maybe the best prospect pool in the league now at this point.
Yeah, they're absolutely.
Which, when you're this bad for this long, you should have a good prospect pool. But I don't want to pull punches. I don't want to take low blows at the Sharks. They've got some ridiculously good prospects who they've drafted really, really well, and now they've gotten Askarov. And they coveted Askarov for a long time. There it is from the Sharks on NBCS, their X account. But there you have it. Mike Greer, the GM of the Sharks, reveals the Sharks coveted Yaroslav Askarov for a long time before trading for the highly touted prospect. So the Sharks wanted him. Of course, I just brought up how Friedman brought up many teams in his 32 Thoughts article that just got released. I mean, look, Sharks fans for the most part, like I said, I always tell you guys, I always like to scan what other fans are saying on the social media accounts, like to get a barometer of how fans are feeling. I would say overwhelmingly, Sharks fans love this trade. They're excited. The analysts love this trade for both sides, really, I feel like. I've seen it. I think on paper, it's really hard to grade this trade because all these trades are prospects.
You're not going to know for a long time.
There's nothing
too, and it's true. You're not going to know for years.
There's nothing involved in this trade that involves proven NHL players.
No,
I
not
mean,
at all.
so we can try to grade it based on just what we think is going to happen. That's fair, but just on the surface, I think it's an effective trade for both teams.
Yeah. And honestly, for Trotz, I'm going to, ultimately, I think he handled it all right given the circumstances. I think, if still my criticism of Trotz would be, I wish he would have really tried to act more with more urgency. And I think he probably should have known that Askarov could have pulled the stuff he did. But overall, I'm glad he acted with urgency when it really came down to it. And with the return, and also considering what the situation was, the return he got, and he got a first-round pick for next year. That's a sticking point for me, getting that extra first-round pick, because now he got 3 firsts for a team that's really could use it for a team that's going to want to contend for a cup, and now they have more room to make deals.
Yeah, and also, let's break down what we're getting in return now real quick for this trade to really size it up. Let's do our best. I have looked up these prospects. I've looked up the scouting reports from all the sites, because I'll admit I knew about Magnus Krona, and I knew a little bit about David Edstrom, but not a ton. But here's what I like about Edstrom. Let's start with him. I like the fact that he is a prototypical center.
Yes.
Like, that's his foundation. So I love that he's not like some tweener where no one knows what his position is. He's got a strong two-way game. I really wish I could give credit to who said this, but I'm sure a few people have said this. But I saw out there that someone called him Colton Sissons 2.0.
I've seen that too.
I'll take that. I'll take that all day. I'll take that and run with it. The guy's got a sneaky good, two-way game to him. He's physical. He's a big body, from his scouting reports, and he's just trying to land. I mean, it's hard. I mean, you look at all the prominent analysts out there who cover the drafts, where, they always say that really, like, your home run picks in the draft every year or normally in the top 10. That's how hard it is to draft in the NHL. So even in the late first round, you get guys all the time that are 50-50 toss-ups to really stick in the NHL. And so when you look at a guy like Edstrom, I look at him as the type of prospect that he's got to find the right spot for him.
Yeah.
And maybe it can be Nashville. Maybe it can. So he'll start in Milwaukee, obviously, and let's see what he can do. I think it's a great addition for Milwaukee. Milwaukee Admirals fans got to be excited.
Will he play in Milwaukee this year?
What's that?
Will he play in Milwaukee this year? Because these prospects don't necessarily come right away to North America.
Well, Edstrom should. Yeah, I would think he would.
I didn't know, honestly. I didn't know.
I don't know either. I don't know. I would think he would, though. I mean, he's got the two-way game and the strong. And I can look it up again, because again, like, this has been moving so fast. So I can look him up as well. But I would have suspected he's going to go to Milwaukee.
I'm looking it up right now too. Let me see what I come up with. He hasn't yet played in North America, so he may still not. But either way, it's a guy for the long future. So that's what you get back with these prospects. They got a while out before.
I like guys from Sweden, though. So the Swedish players, I mean, that's a good pedigree right there.
The Scandinavian countries for the NHL, it's always a really good thing.
Now, he might have a low floor, but again, Trotz had to rush into this trade that he probably didn't want to rush in. Well, he definitely didn't want to rush into.
Right.
So you kind of had to do damage control here, is what I look at it like.
Yeah, I mean, again, he had no easy way to handle this. Again, I think he probably could have seen a little bit more of the, coming with Askarov making it public, but overall, I think he handled it fine. Again, like you said a lot of times, Chad, and you're right, the guy's human's going to make errors. Hopefully, you can consider this a learning experience. And, as crappy as it can be, some of these things are going to happen. These guys are looking to boost, make their own situations the best. And, again, they're concerned themselves. They're not really concerned with the team, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just how it is, and some of these things are going to happen. So hopefully, Trotz can be a little more aware of that in the future.
Let's look at this. So this is from Big Head Hockey. Look at Nashville's trade chip cupboard. David Edstrom, Matthew Wood. These are this is just them throwing out like, look, if Trotz wants to go big game hunting at the 2025 trade deadline,
I think he's
got a lot of prospects and a lot of draft picks to work with. So I've seen a lot of prominent NHL analysts bring this thought up that Trotz is a chess player and he's always thinking 10 steps ahead. And there's always a bigger picture to what he's doing. You know what I'm saying, Max?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's how you should operate.
So from Big Head Hockey on X, they put up Nashville's trade chip cupboard. David Edstrom, Matthew Wood, who's the first-round draft pick from, God, I'm so lost, 2023.
Yep.
Tanner Mollendijk, 2023 first-round pick when they had 2 first-round picks. Reed Schaefer, who really took off last year. That guy's trending up in the Nashville prospect pool. Reed Schaefer, I'm not saying it's some injuries and some things would have to happen that you probably don't want to happen, but Reed Schaefer is getting close to being on that NHL bubble where he might get a shot.
This list has have Zachary LaRue on it.
I know, which is kind of surprising. They're not
Philip Tomasino.
Yeah, I mean, look, these accounts don't follow the Predators every day, so they're not going to be perfect. But Joakim Kimmel is on there. Igor Surin, the first round pick of this past year, which I would have, like you just said, Max, I would have taken out Surin and put in LaRue there probably. But the point is, the Preds do have a lot of assets right now.
Absolutely.
They're overloaded with assets. And when you think about a team like the Preds, and I wrote this in my Predlines article breaking down this trade of Askarov, is Trotz is kind of playing both sides of the coin here right now.
Absolutely.
He is
really hard to do, but he's finding a way so far.
He's acquiring assets like this team is rebuilding, but he's also going out and signing Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault.
That's what he said. He said, it's kind of what he wants to do. He's talked before, like on 1-2-5 the game, he's mentioned basically he wants to have like a clear top 6 of veterans and like the younger forwards to kind of be in that lower top 6, but like top 9. So he clearly has a vision for, what this team should be.
We got a YouTube commenter here. We got Brando on YouTube says, what do we end up doing with the 3 first-round picks? All right, let's talk about it, Max. That's a great question.
To put it to you this way, I would be very surprised if all of them get used straight up.
Great question there, Brando. Thank you for that comment there. Thank you for joining the live stream here. Using 3 first-round picks is... if we were a rebuilding team, truly a rebuilding team, like we were way down in the dumps, we didn't have Stamkos and Philip Forsberg and Roman Josi and all these great veterans that are gonna lead this team, then I would say, yeah, we're probably going to use all 3 of those first round picks because we got to reload this prospect pool. But no, there's a bigger picture involved here. I hate looking so far ahead to the 2025 trade deadline because so much of the trade deadline factors into where your team's at in the standings when that time comes. And we have no idea, obviously, where the Preds are going to be. We expect them to be in a playoff spot and competing, maybe even for near the top of the division at that point. Oh, we would hope with how good this team is on paper, at least. But it's so hard to project that far out. But you would say that, yeah, Trotz is going to at least dangle one of those first-round picks in some other type of trade. Big trade, I will say.
At the very least, you would think that he's going to try and package stuff to like even move up in the first round. Again, there's only so much room you have. There's only so many of our prospects can really make the future team. And it's got to be what Trotz is thinking here, thinking if nothing else, try and move up in the draft for a way higher pick, and you have ammo to do it with 3 first-round picks. But I think you and I very much agree. We expect them to try and pull off some kind of blockbuster at the 2025 trade deadline or 2025 offseason.
Yeah. So we got some comments coming in here about Edstrom, the center prospect that the Preds got in return, which was originally Vegas's draft pick late in the first round. But Predemption says Edstrom, I think, will play in Milwaukee with Svechkov. Hopefully those two will be ready for the show by 2025-26. Alex says Edstrom is listed with his Swedish club on elite prospects, but I imagine that'll change after training camp. And then Brando jumps in and talks about Reed Schaefer. Reed Schaefer is a big kid with skill. I think Reed Schaefer gets overlooked so much in our prospect pool right now.
He really does. And he was part of the Ekholm trade, so it'd be really nice if that pans out. We need
nice
that.
Memory.
I'll be honest,
nice
not a lot's really panned out in that Ekholm trade.
Mm-mm. Well, you're not going to win every trade perfectly,
right?
And let's Predemption also jumps in. We're getting caught up on the comments here. Tomasino has probably played enough games that he doesn't qualify as trade chip covered pieces. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still have 2 RFAs that are just hanging out there that we're still wondering about.
We're going to talk about them here in a few minutes.
Tomasino and Parsonen. But nothing has really changed in the last couple of weeks, and definitely with this Askarov trade that changes that narrative at all.
Yep.
But let's talk about the goalie now, Magnus Krona. So everyone's going to look at his NHL stats, and I just think it's incredibly not even fair.
Yeah.
To really, I mean, he was playing for a Sharks team.
He played 9 games in his career.
That was so awful. I mean,
right.
No offense to the Sharks, but I mean, that guy was behind a shooting gallery, basically.
Yeah.
And I mean,
they have so little talent. He should be in the AHL. It's not. He's in a situation that he wasn't going to do well.
So let's tell you about Magnus Krona a little bit. 4-year player for the University of Denver, a really, really well respected and high caliber NCAA program. Won a national championship for them. Every season with them, I think he had a save percentage over 90 or 900. So really good collegiate career. And yes, of course, he has had a rough go of it. He's only had 1 year of AHL experience. I couldn't tell you anything about San Jose's AHL team, the Barracudas. I don't know what kind of team he had in front of him. I'm not going to even begin to speculate. But all I can say is he's got a new opportunity here. He's a big body. Looking at his scouting report, he is very different from UC Saros. 6'4", big body. His natural physical frame is his friend and his strength. He's got to develop his technical skills, which is the exact opposite of Saros, which is one of the most technical wizards out there when it comes to goalies. I mean, that dude is a fucking mass scientist when it comes to how he acts. So I think that Magnus Krona can be a really good guy to slip in and just be a really good prospect to work his way up from Milwaukee and eventually get up there. And who knows, 3 or 4 years down the road, we don't know where the Predators are going to be with their goalie room. And they might be able to take Magnus Krona on as a backup to Saros.
Yeah, no, I think he's definitely going in. I admit I don't know a ton about Magnus Krona. Obviously, I know he was in the NHL last year, but it very much seems like, he obviously was in a situation with nothing in front of him. And obviously, in all honesty, like I said, that team has so little talent. He probably shouldn't have even been in the NHL, but I think it's going to be definitely better for him to go to the AHL where he probably belongs. And again, I place so much emphasis, and I'm maybe just me being a homer, but the fact that that he is now Mitch Korn going to be in his corner, helping him out, I think it's going to be a huge help for him, telling him where he should be. And of course, he's not going to have the pressure being in the NHL with Saros obviously there, and then Scott Wedgwood being the backup. So yeah, I think it's going to play into what he's capable of, what he should be in, and yeah, I think it's going to, with a lot more structure and talent in front of him, I think it's going to be a lot better for him.
Yeah, I agree for sure. So I mean, obviously a downgrade in prospects from,
of course,
Askarov to Corona, but you never expected to get a 1-for-1 swap. I like that Trotz got a goalie replacement for Milwaukee. That
is good, honestly, because we didn't have anyone else.
No,
Was
I mean,
on the team.
So you have Matthew Murray is the other who was also acquired this offseason as a free agent. Not Matt Murray, not
Matt Murray.
Yeah, I know. I got so confused by that when he was originally. Too. But no, it's Matthew Murray who's I think 26 years old, a lot more AHL experience. So they're going to battle it out in Milwaukee for starts. You would think it would be like a 50-50 type of thing at first. So it'll be fun there's a strong segment of Preds fans who love following the Admirals. So that's going to be a fun little battle for them to watch, the goalie situation, because you got 2 new goalies for the Milwaukee Admirals this year. Troy Grosnick moved on, and of course, Askarov's gone. So, and Devin Cooley was down there for a while, and he's gone as well. So, yeah, Milwaukee's got a new goalie room down there. So we will see how that goes. And, of course, we've already broken down the first-round pick. So, I'll give a quick grade, even though it's not even fair to grade this, but everyone loves grades. I'll give Trotz a very solid B+ on this trade. Just on the surface, B+, because he did the best he could. I mean, I can't give him an A because it's not
probably,
like I think
a B+ is probably about where he belongs. Yeah,
I mean, A's are like reserved for like when it's just a ridiculous trade where you're getting like a proven NHL player. I'm not faulting Trotz for not getting a proven NHL player because he was just thrown into this situation. You would have liked. You can always wonder in hindsight if Trotz could have gotten a much better trade return if he would have acted differently with this whole situation. But look, I mean, you can't plan for this kind of stuff. You can't plan for Askarov to just publicly demand a trade like he did. So, I mean, really, I think Trotz handled it as best he could. So I think a B+ is a fair grade.
Yeah, I agree. I think about a B+ is what he got.
All right, cool. So let's move along here in episode 244 of Catfish on Ice, presented by BetterHelp and also part of the Hockey Podcast Network, also presented by DraftKings with our promo codes THPN. All right, so Max, let's talk about the training camp coming up here. Less than a month away, or about a month away. The preseason opens for the Predators on September 22nd in a doubleheader against the Carolina Hurricanes. So, Max, let's start talking about some players who have the most to gain in training camp and also preseason.
Do you want me to go with my list, or do you want?
Oh, we don't even have to go list. I mean, I said 5 players, but let's just bring up some players.
I saw your article for Pred Lines, and I had a few I'm in agreement with, some disagreements. But anyway, one of the ones I definitely agree with, I think, and we've talked about this extensively, Tommy Novak, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a dead set.
Yeah, I mean, what have we not talked about at this point with Tommy Novak? What he has to prove this season? I mean, he's obviously got a lot with the pressure that's on him. But next one I also agreed was Dante Fabro. I think, he's definitely, because right now it seems like he's going to be that 7th defenseman, and he wants to be in the lineup permanently. So he's going to have a lot to prove. He's going to have a lot to, because he's obviously not going to be above, Yossi or Shen. Lausanne and Carrier are probably going to be above him too. And I might have said Yossi Shen. I meant Yossi Shea. Either way, he's going to have his work cut out for him if he wants to be an everyday lineup guy. So he's got a lot to play for. Some of the other guys I put on there, another guy I personally put there was Mark Jankowski. I think he's definitely a roster bubble guy. And
so who would overtake Jankowski's spot if he doesn't prove it in training camp?
Tomasino, maybe.
Okay.
That was also my next point. I put 5 players. One of them I put 2 of them the same thing, kind of because they're playing for the same reason. Juuso Parson and Philip Tomasino, because you have to imagine those 2 guys be fighting for their lineup spots, and they're obviously young players looking to prove a lot. They were sent down to Milwaukee last year, so they'll be playing motivated for sure. And also another one I meant to say I agree with too on your Pred lines list was Spencer Stastny, because he's also a young player who's looking to solidify his lineup spot. Got into the playoffs last year. Obviously, he couldn't finish because he wasn't healthy, But again, he's going to be really looking to lock down that third spot on the left defense and not give it back. So yeah, so pretty much my list is Novak, Fabro, Stasny, Jankowski, and also a split between Parsonen and Tomasino.
All right. So I didn't put Tomasino on my list because I don't even know if the guy's going to be on the team yet.
That is true. You don't hear that he's an unknown.
I mean, he's such an unknown that I'm so afraid to even talking absolutes about him right now. So I put Steven Stamkos on my list, not because he has to prove he's a great player, but that I'm going from my own personal perspective here. So when training camp happens and when preseason happens and when I get to see Stamkos first skate in a Preds sweater, I mean, when I see the Preds skate out there and I know Stamkos is out there for the first time, I'm going to be watching to see because that chemistry is going to have to be built fast. We thought the same thing when Ryan O'Reilly was signed for this team. Times that by 100 now because Stamkos is such an X factor, not taking anything away from Ryan O'Reilly. But, I mean, it's magnified now. So for me, I don't want to call it something to prove. Stamkos has nothing to prove in this league. I mean, he could flop in Nashville. His legacy is still solidified. But I think that Stamkos has a lot to gain in training camp because I can promise you right now, Brunette and company, they're going to be working relentlessly in training camp to make sure they can figure out the best place for Stamkos on this lineup because he's already said, hey, I'm open to playing center again. He's played wing for Tampa recently. That's probably his best spot at this point in his career. But that's tied to Tommy Novak, so obviously he's on my list as well. So they're intertwined here, but it's going to really be between those two. I'm going to be watching the chemistry between Novak and Stamkos. I think Stamkos, I love the fact that Stamkos is has that reputation of being a leader, a mentor, a classy type of guy, just a locker room, whatever you want to call it, championship pedigree, all that stuff, all the terms you want to use. That's Steven Stamkos. And I really hope that he can bring the best out of Novak.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to be watching in training camp is that duo there. Because if you can make something happen there between those two, you can create some quick magic and they can pick it up quick together and Novak is ready to take it on. Wow. The Preds are going to do special things, but it might take some time.
Yeah.
It might take 10 games. It might take 20 games. We don't know. Yeah. But it's all about Novak. So Novak's my other guy. We're in agreement there. I put Dante Fabro and Spencer Stastny there because they're intertwined as well. Because I think they're in a position battle with each other. Not because they don't play the same side of the defense, but so they can kind of coalesce together in the same lineup. But let me start with Fabro. If Fabro just really just knocks it out of the park in training camp. And here's the thing. When you're a veteran, and he is a veteran at this point, he's been around long enough to where you call him a veteran for sure. It's not so much that you have anything to prove to coaches. Coaches know you can play. But he has to do something to say, you guys are idiots if you make me a healthy scratch.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was saying too.
I don't know what he can do that he hasn't already done. He's got to elevate his offensive game maybe, but I don't know if he can do that. In a
he might just be what he is.
But I speculated about this in my article. If somehow he does just really just be one of the MVPs of training camp or whatever, where do you put him? You got to put him on the top line with Yossi at that point. And then Brady Shea complicates everything because you went out and signed Brady Shea. Are you really going to put Brady Shea on the second pairing? You could. It's not like you can't do it.
You could.
It's not a crime. It's not a crime. Yeah. So I think that Dante Fabro is kind of playing oddly, he is kind of playing between, am I going to be a seventh defenseman or am I going to be on the top pairing with Roman Josi? Is that crazy to think about? I think
that really is.
That's his best spot if you're going to put him in the starting lineup.
No doubt. And it makes you wonder, like, I know, like, we're not the coaches. We don't see what's going on in the locker room every day. But, like, my thought is, what's the deal with Fabro if you clearly don't trust him enough to, like, play every game? But when you do, you put him on the first pairing. Something seems off there. Like, there's no middle ground between that. Like, I don't know, man.
I don't know either. But, like, and then to flip it to Spencer Stastny, he's probably the preferred starting defenseman on this team over Fabro because he's younger and he's the future and he's on a 2-way contract
and more
for this year.
Upside.
He just went through arbitration, so it's like, yeah, of course the organization wants him to be here for a while. But I mean, we all think Stastny is a lock to be in the lineup, but I don't think he's a lock.
No, he's not.
He's got to have a good training camp. He's got to have a really strong training camp because if he, for some reason or another, gives coaches pause or he has a lackluster camp or he shows something that they don't like or whatever, they're going to have to go back to Fabro and think, okay, we got to find Fabro back in here. And it's just moving all these chess pieces around. So Stastny and Fabro are completely intertwined here as far as who's going to start and who's going to be the seventh defenseman on this team. It's weird because if Stastny's the seventh defenseman, you would rather have him in Milwaukee, wouldn't you?
Right, absolutely.
He's on a 2-way deal.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how that goes.
They seem to always want him playing. Like he's never one of those guys who's sitting. He's either in Milwaukee or he's in Nashville. So
yeah, you don't want to waste him. And you went through that arbitration and you got the deal where he's on a 2-way deal for the first year. So you need to get the value out of that if you can. And he's waivers exempt, so you would prefer that since you do have him on a 2-way deal, that if you don't feel totally comfortable with him being in the starting lineup, then NHL lineup, then just put him in Milwaukee, get him more experience. But so that's something you got to watch in training camp. Got to get in real quick before I'm going to talk about a couple other guys that I got pegged on my training camp most of the game. But let's tell you about our sponsor, BetterHelp. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. And yes, BetterHelp.com/THPN to get on your way to being your best self. So right now, everyone's got so many priorities. They're trying to fit in so many things, kids' activities, big work projects, and more. And it's easy to let your own personal priorities slip. It happens for me. I get caught up in not just doing the podcast and following the Preds and doing all the stuff I do with that, but my own work and also take care of my physical health. I got to make it to the gym. I got to eat healthy. I got to, run the errands, do all those things. It's easy to just get so overwhelmed and forget your priorities. Even when you know what makes us happy, it's hard to make time for it. But when you feel like you have no time for yourself, non-negotiables like therapy are more important than ever. And therapy is so beneficial. And I can tell you that you're never, ever too proud to get help and get therapy and talk to somebody. You don't have to have a personal, chaotic conflict in your life to need therapy. Sometimes it just helps to talk to somebody and just really put your mental health first. That's where it comes down to. It's helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. So some of the best things about BetterHelp is if you're thinking of starting therapy, just give it a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN for 10% off your first month. Amazing sponsor that we have that are making a huge difference in people's lives. Differences that you can't measure. So always put yourself first. Always take care of your personal priorities in these crazy hectic times we live in. Of course, we bring Catfish and Ice to you guys to break away from all that and just talk hockey and have fun, right? So that's what we're doing tonight. So yeah, BetterHelp is an amazing sponsor. We love having them. And again, promo code THPN will get you a good offer with them right now. All right, we're going to tell you about DraftKings here in just a second. Let me finish my training camp players with most to gain here real quick. And so those players are obviously very much intertwined for sure. I mean, when you talk about Fabro, Stastny, but when I mean, Novak and Stamkos, they're intertwined in a different way. They're both starters, but they got to be line mates. I really do. Because if Novak is not there, it's going to shake everything up so much. And so that's a big one. My other player that I have that has a lot to gain in a different way is Luke Evangelista.
Yep.
And a lot of NHL analysts out there and national analysts are saying that Luke Evangelista is a breakout player candidate this year.
I think
he kind of hung around in the Calder Trophy race for a little bit. Was never a threat to actually win it, obviously with Connor Bedard in the mix and so many other rookies. I mean, that rookie class was loaded. And so, but now being in his second NHL season on a normal retooling Nashville team, he would be top 6, no doubt. No doubt he would be top 6. But with all these free agency acquisitions, he's going to be bottom 6 now. So I got him as a lot to prove because I think that he has to show coaches that he is top 6, truly potential, going into his second full-time NHL season. And even if he's not going to be top 6 initially, you got to build that trust with these coaches now in training camp so that they can know, okay, if things go hairy, if things get kind of bad, we can shake things up. And if we have to, we'll call you up. We got you.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think about when I bring up Luke Evangelista.
Yeah. No, I think, again, I really agree that he's one of those guys who has a lot of breakup potential. I was a huge fan of what he did last year. I'm one of the guys I'm supporting who I really think has the most potential in this team. He's one of those prospects. He's not really a prospect anymore, but he's one of those young guys I'm most excited about. And like you said, he would be top 6 if it were, a retooling team and, try going the other direction. But on this team, he's not going to have it so easy in the top 6. And in fact, he's almost sure to not get it. So yeah, he's got a lot to prove as far as that's concerned. But no, I still, one way or another, I expect big things from Evangelista.
But I think this could actually work out being great for him.
I think, yeah, absolutely.
We think if he plays with Colton Sissons, when it comes to the projected lineup, and of course we don't know how it's going to go, but if he ends up playing with Colton Sissons as his center, that's great for him.
Yeah.
Sissons is such a veteran leader in his own right. I mean, you can't ask for a better player for Evangelista to play with on a line. And, again, I'm gonna circle back to that segment of fans who just love these younger players, and some of them are gone now, and that it's hard for them. Every segment, there's different segments of this fan base. There's newer fans who just started following this team. There's fans who have been following the team since 1998. There's casual fans, there's diehard fans, there's all these different types of segments of fans. But for that segment of fan base who really fell in love with the so-called youth movement and these younger players that had so much personality, and we were sold that the team was heading that direction. We were probably going through a little bit of a mini rebuild or whatever you want to call it. And it changed very quickly. And for that segment of the fan base, it's still kind of hard for them to swallow that right now.
Yeah.
And so what I would tell them is Luke Evangelista is their crown jewel. And don't take it badly if he's in the bottom 6 right now, because I think it's a great spot for him playing with Colton Sissons. And maybe Mark Jankowski. We don't know. We have to figure out how that lineup works out in the bottom 6. We're actually about to preview that. But when it comes to training camp, I don't think he's having to prove anything, but he definitely has to gain that extra trust from Andrew Burnett and in training camp in terms of, hey, I'm ready when you need me. But I can thrive in the role you need me in right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think all that's spot on.
Yep. All right. So let's get into more of episode 244 of Catfish and Ice on this Sunday evening and tell you about our current DraftKings offer. Know the beautiful thing about being a sports fan, there's only like 2 days the whole year without a game. 2. With so much happening and so much action, that makes just about every game day at DraftKings Sportsbook. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. It really could not be any more simple. And so, Max, we got the NFL preseason wrapping up. I want to look at, if DraftKings has it, opening lines for the NFL. So we got September 5th, Baltimore Ravens at the Kansas City Chiefs, Max. What a opening game of the season.
Oh, yeah.
And right now, DraftKings has the Kansas City Chiefs, who will be at home. They're looking for their 3rd straight Super Bowl. They are -3 favorites against the Baltimore Ravens. I would take the Ravens, but I'm not giving betting advice. I'm not giving betting advice. I'm just telling you what I would do.
They're going to be angry after that showing in the AFC Championship, that's for sure.
September 6th, you got the Packers at the Eagles.
In Brazil, by the way.
Yeah, you got the Eagles as -2.5 favorites.
On a Friday night.
Some other NFL lines for week 1. You got the Cardinals at the Bills, -5.5 for the Bills as favorites. I would definitely take the Bills in that, but Texans at the Colts, a big AFC South division matchup to open the season. That is a virtual toss-up according to DraftKings at a -1.5 spread favoring the road team, the Texans. And let's tell you about the Titans and what DraftKings is saying. The Titans are at the Chicago Bears in week 1, and they've got the Titans as a +4 underdog. So if you're feeling really, really confident about your Tennessee Titans, Preds fans, you can take the Titans at +4 against the Bears.
+4?
Yeah, that's what DraftKings says right now.
I know I'm a homer. I'm kind of surprised. The 4 to 5 and 6
I'm surprised
lines are usually pretty
Sophia,
big.
get back. Yeah, she's trying to tear up all my stuff. Hey, all right. Yeah, joy of doing a live podcast and when you have a 8-month-old puppy. All right. So, yes, if you're new to DraftKings, you got to check this out. New customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available. For problem gambling, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Deposit and eligibility restrictions apply. See terms and responsible gaming resources at dkng.com/base. All right. So now with that, let's move along here and preview the bottom 6 of the very difficult bottom 6 of the Preds lineup. Because Max, we don't have Kiefer Sherwood anymore. That's the monkey wrench. Is Kiefer not having Kiefer Sherwood?
No, yeah, the identity line. Good Lord, definitely lost a key piece there.
Whenever I think identity line, I think about how many times John Hines would say identity in one press conference. He would say
more coaches than John Hines believe in it.
Yeah, I know. I get it. But he would say it like 100 times, even when the team got like blasted. And like he'd be like, identity. And I get it. Like it's like the new slogan. It's always been a slogan. But like, yeah. All right. So this team does have an identity now, I think. I think there's been other seasons where this team didn't have an identity. Yeah. I think this team already kind of thinks they have one going into the season.
If the end of last year is any indication, they certainly have one to build off of.
Yes. So looking at the bottom 6, do you think there's a lot of competition? Do you think that there are some prospects like Zachary Leroux who could shake things up? Or do you think it's pretty much like the club's closed? Nobody's getting in. We know who we're going with.
No, I just said Mark Jankowski's probably a bubble guy. I think he makes it. So now, assuming it comes down to just like strictly the younger guys, I think whichever one of, certainly one of Tomasino or Parsonen is going to be in there. The other is definitely going to be breathing down the neck of, whoever's the next guy to line up to be in there. As far as after that, I think the only other one with maybe with a somewhat serious chance at this point is Leroux. Trotz was talking about how, he wants to leave enough room for him to have a chance. I think we see his debut this year. Don't think he's going to be a regular, at least to start out with. Other than that, I really don't see anyone else really threatening. I know you mentioned Reed Schaefer a little bit ago. I don't think he's going to be there at this point. So I really think, it comes down to whichever one of Tomasino or Parson does not make it in. That other one is probably going to be, really close to threatening. Maybe Leroux gets in there too, but I think the only other one, I think pretty much the one who's really serious about really making this lineup, but might still not, is whichever one of Tomasino or Parsonen does not immediately make it. I know it's kind of contradictory, but
when you're a team who's clearly made it apparent that you're all in for a Stanley Cup this year, not next year, not 2 years from now, no, this year, it doesn't invite a lot of competition for prospects to make the lineup right out of training camp. So that's one thing. I don't see a lot of drama when it comes to the starting lineup for the bottom 6. I think that Brunette knows what he has. He likes the rugged guys. He likes he loves what they saw. He loves what he saw in them this past season. I mean, how are you going to take Mark Jankowski out of the lineup when he did what he did? I mean, he was. I shared the stat in the last episode, or maybe it was the episode before, where Jankowski was second behind Philip Forsberg in expected goals efficiency per 60 minutes. I mean, that's a crazy stat when you really think about it. So, and he's such a stable player. He's so trusted. He's kind of like the ice. He's kind of like Colton Sissons in a way. Like he's so trusted. You know what you're going to get out of him in his role. There's no drama. So I can't see Jankowski not being in the starting lineup. I don't see a lot of drama with the bottom 6. I'm just going to be honest. I don't see any scenario where Michael McCarron's not in the starting lineup.
No, definitely not.
He's one of your prototypical centers that you need, and you're thin at center, so you got to have him. Cole Smith ain't going anywhere. it really comes down to Juuso Parssinen and Tomasino and how these RFA contracts get settled. If Parssinen gets re-signed to a pretty manageable, I can't believe it's taken this long, to be quite honest. More so on Parssinen than Tomasino for me. You can get Parssinen signed for like $1 million, maybe.
Yeah.
Get it done. Get it. And I got to think it's going to happen soon.
Yeah.
Very soon.
I think so too.
But assuming Parssinen gets signed, he's in your starting lineup, if you ask me.
I think so too.
But he's got to have a good training camp, but he's in. And then you've got your starting lineup right there. Tomasino's he's got some work to do.
Yes.
Even if he gets a new contract, he's got some work to do. I am not sold that he is going to.
Neither am I.
I'm not sold.
No, neither am I. I think the biggest question, because like you said, I think there's, I agree with you. I don't think there's a ton of drama as far as questions on who is left and who's in the lineup, who's left out. Biggest question for me is, and I wrote about this on Predlines.com, and I wrote an article on what I think the lineup's going to look like. But I think you might have an opinion too. How's it going to be constructed? I think that's the biggest question here. Well, how are you going to fit the pieces?
Let's say hi to Matt real quick. Matt Hardesty, our friend.
Matt?
He said he's late. It's okay. Totally fine. Man, he's up really late. He says happy with the ASCII trade. And let me tell you, everybody, Matt's a friend of the show. He's part of our inner circle that we love to chat with. And Matt's he would never be confused as being a biased fan.
No, he does not give compliments easy.
He is overly critical of this team sometimes.
He is.
But I love him for it. I value his opinion. I really do. Whenever he responds to my stuff, I value his opinion. I really do. But he's happy with the ASCII. He says, I'm happy with the ASCII trade. Hot take, Trotz will trade up in the draft this year. First line center coming.
That's a lot of optimism there, Matt.
There you go, Matt. I love it. We don't get optimism from Matt.
We do not very often.
He's got me, so the last episode, I'm gonna grab it because it's right within arm distance. The last I don't want to jinx this team at all. I'm wearing my old school beat up Preds hat that I don't even know where I bought it from. And this is like my lucky hat I always wear. I'm gonna pull that off. But this is my vibe hat. And Matt, I wore this hat for the first time in episode 243. It's been sitting in my closet for like a couple years. I haven't even touched it, collecting dust. But I got vibes. I got weird vibes. I hope I'm not wrong. We're going to finish out the episode with me wearing this hat that doesn't even really fit me very well. But this franchise deserves to be more than just a magical 2017 run. Because that's what most outsiders look at it as the Predators, is a cute little team that makes the playoffs a lot. Fun atmosphere to go to if you're a road fan, if you're a road team fan. We love going to Preds Training Arena. It's so much fun. Nashville's awesome. We all remember they went to the Cup that year. No one expected it. Oh, they won the President's Trophy the year after. That's all we got. We got Pecorine. We got Shea Weber. We got a couple all-time superstars, but the overwhelming disrespect that we still get around the league from fans, we got to start proving it. We really do. And this year, we've already talked about it. When we first signed Stamkos, me and Max both talked about it. The excuses are over.
No more.
And, maybe even if it doesn't happen this season, I'm giving it 2 or 3 seasons. Something's got to happen here because the front end of these contracts look pretty good, but the back ends of these contracts, it's going to start looking bad if the Preds don't produce.
100%.
But I got 2017 vibes though. I do.
There you go.
All right. There you have it. Matt, thank you so much. So getting more into the bottom 6 preview, I really like the bottom 6. I'm excited. I think it's kind of a huge strength and testament of where this franchise is right now, that there's not a lot of competition in the bottom 6. I mean,
yeah, this is honestly rare that we have this little few questions on who's going to make the team. And
yeah, because normally, like, you would look at the bottom 6 as being like, oh, we don't know what's going to happen.
Revolving door.
I mean, as much jokes as Cole Smith gets, I mean, the guy does his role. He's gotten better.
He's a super effective penalty killer.
Super effective. I mean, you watch that guy on the penalty kill, it makes you want to run through a brick wall.
He busts his ass every time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Michael McCarron is so underrated. He might be the best contract on the team at $900,000.
Yeah, he's a great one to have. And Colton Sissons has aged so well through a 7-year contract. Everyone at the time was like, "What are we doing?" But he's made it look really good.
And it really sucks to lose Kiefer Sherwood, but you can't keep them all. We always say that. I hate to lose him. I really do. He was like perfect. But like when you look at it now, that's kind of where Yusuf Parson has to fit in now. That's where someone else has to fit in. Yusuf Parson, maybe his ceiling is more skill than Sherwood. We'll see if he ends up being the person who has to fill that role. We'll see. But you look at the bottom 6 now for the Preds, and you have to be pretty excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's really good. And also, you never know what Trotz's going to do, but by virtue either making a blockbuster or some other trade, the bottom 6 could become better. I mean, it's again, and then that's another thing. This team this year, like what we know right now, is not the final team. Things can happen in the middle of the year, so stuff can get even better.
Yeah. All right, we're about to get out of here on this Sunday evening because I need some sleep. But fun episode. Matt, our buddy, he always brings up good questions and good points. He throws out, we're going to close out episode 244 with this, and this might take a couple minutes to talk about this. Stamkos at 2C, second line center, and Evangelista on the wing. Where do you put Marchessault then?
Well, I think I think it's hard to think is if assuming Forsberg, O'Reilly, Nyquist are going to be, that line. I think the question is what happens with Novak, because I think Marchessault is definitely top 6 in that case. Novak probably goes to third line center if that happens.
So where Sissons can play the wing.
He can play, and that's even. And I'm going to say, and this is going to open up another can of worms. Honestly, the way this lineup is, I kind of think Sissons could play on the wing anyway.
Well, that's what I love about Sissons. I mean, everyone knows that follows this podcast that I am like, Sissons is like my favorite player. He is more favorite to me than Roman Josi or Saros or Forsberg. He really is. Like, that's just me. That doesn't mean I think he's better than those players. It's just me personal. I've always had a personal love for Colton Sissons since the 2017 Stanley Cup run. Just the way he carries himself, how hard he plays. When the Seattle Kraken expansion draft came up, I was freaking out that he was going to be the player lost in the expansion draft. I love the guy. Because he puts his work belt on, he clocks in, he goes to work, and he does the job. No drama. He never gets recognized in the highlight reel, hardly ever. He's never going to be a guy who gets the respect he deserves, but the strong contingent of Preds fans know how vital Colton Sissons is to this locker room, this team. And so the fact that you have a guy like that who doesn't have to play center, he can play wing. If injuries happen, it's not ideal that he's in the top 6 necessarily. He's much more valuable in the bottom 6, but he can go wherever you need him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's going to play well wherever you put him.
Like you said, he's a utility player.
Yeah, and I mean he's his penalty killing, his face-offs. No one, I mean, a lot of people bring this up. Some people do, but like the fact that he can win face-offs for the penalty kill. I mean, the guy's a face-off magician.
Yeah.
So like just everything he does is crucial. So I love that Matt brings that up there about Novak, about Stamkos playing second line center, and then Novak gets moved down to maybe third line center.
Yeah, I
and
think that's what happens.
Sissons can play wing. Who ends up being the odd man out there? Is it Parsonen? It's just there's so much that still has to be figured out here. That's the fun.
Yeah, and that's the question because I
that's the madness.
Because I think the organization really thinks Parsonen is a better fit at center than wing, so that opens up some other questions.
No, he totally is.
Yeah.
Parson is definitely a better fit at wing, but is he ready at center?
Yeah.
At center.
Right.
But is he ready to be at center right now? And is there room for him to be at center right now?
All kinds of questions.
There's a lot of questions. And, I think Novak is such an X factor here. He really is.
I think he's like the X factor.
Because if Novak fails or he's not living up to playing such an important role at center, then that's going to give Stamkos the opportunity to play center. That's going to give Parsonen the opportunity to play center, assuming he gets re-signed.
Yeah.
We think McCarron is going to be center no matter what.
He can also play wing if he needs.
He can play wing as well. Exactly. So there's a lot to figure out here for sure.
Yep.
So training camp's going to be fun. Even if we don't think there's going to be a lot of roster bubble players that are going to compete for a roster spot in terms of prospects, there's still a lot of movement within the starting lineup that has to be figured out.
Yeah. No, absolutely. A lot to figure out from now to the beginning of October.
For sure. All right. So we are going to sign off here for episode 244 of Catfish on Ice. We're moving out of the month of August here in 2024. The summer has flown by, kind of, at least for me. I'm ready for hockey season to be back so bad. And so we are about to go into September. We got a couple weeks of slow time where there's never a slow time when it comes to the Preds, at least this offseason, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We're waiting for those RFA contract deals for Tomasino and Parsonen. Who the hell knows if another trade could happen? It could. But until then, we are gearing up for training camp. We still have a couple more previews to do. We're going to cover the top 6, and we're going to cover the goalies. We got some other good topics we're working on. We're going to work on getting some other guests on the show. Until then, it's your host, Chad Minton, and co-host Max Greenberg signing off for the Hockey Podcast Network. Hit subscribe on the YouTube channel, download our episodes, comment on the show. We'll see you soon. Take care, everybody. Have a good work week.
See you guys.